Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Switch to Movies. And we are here today to discuss the movie review of the newly released Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, let's get started. The film begins in the backdrop of 1944 as Allied forces engage through the liberation of Europe, and as the history chapters are being written down with each combat that the armed forces rage through, Indiana Jones and his colleague Basil Shaw, that is played by Toby Jones, and who happens to be a fellow archaeologist from Oxford, and as the movie opens up its curtains, both of these friends are captured by the Nazis while attempting to retrieve the lance of Longinus. As Dr. Jones and Jurgen Waller, that is played by Mads Mikkelsen, discover that the lance is a fake, Waller reveals a piece of another artifact in possession, which is in fact the half of the Archimedes dial, as they now intend to please their Führer with this priceless possession held up in their clasp. Now, the production design of the movie is just spot on for its opening sequence, as it perfectly delivers out the tone and the setting when it comes to the war-driven scenario of the 1940s. And what contributes to this setting is the way the director plays out this era with the tense climate of the war all around at its peak, and the exhilarating action sequences that sees Indiana Jones chase and board up a moving train and rescue his colleague who is held up in bondage, which just adds up the marvel of the opening sequence of the film. Now, when it comes to the action sequences of the movie, they really are something that keep you on the edge of your seat. And although it is really hard to imagine an 80-year-old guy pull off these moments of spontaneous reflexes, you do have to appreciate the choreography of these action sequences that keep you almost nail biting and on the edge of your seats during the on-course of these highly power-packed and exhilarating sequences. Now, I really like the first 30 minutes of the movie in terms of its story and the way the director pulls together all the strings laid down in this chapter, although the movie does loses up its grip as Dr. Jones and his goddaughter, that is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, set forward in their race against the challenging odds, and the movie does seem to lose some of its charm that it had so marvelously built up in the beginning of the film. The screenplay of the movie, although nicely carpeted in the beginning, starts to lose some of its charm going forward, and the film starts to feel a bit overdragged and long, although it is always desirable for a good story to lay out those hurdles for its characters before they are able to lay their hands on the treasured possession. But unfortunately, the plot twist laid out here only tend to make the movie a bit long than it should have been, and you do expect that a little chunk of it could have been removed. Although overall the movie is pretty enjoyable and it feels like the Indiana Jones movie that we have so long been adorably accustomed to. The movie has been wonderfully written by Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, David Coip, and James Mangold himself, as the general concept of the movie is just off the charts. Although I did not like the climax of the movie, as I feel the ending of the movie is not satisfactorily scripted on the paper, and there's a longing that I felt to understand the concept behind the movie's climax, which I felt that it is not satisfactorily brought up to its core. Although the writing of the movie is commendable, which does adds up those twists and table turners in its story, but it is the screenplay which I feel that does not build up on the story that is provided on paper. And although the movie is a pretty enjoyable ride considering as a whole, it just misses some of its marks with a few drawbacks contained in its story that leaves you with an unfulfilled ending where you feel that a certain of things could have been explained a little more thoroughly before concluding the story's high voltage finale. Coming to the direction of the movie, I feel that James Mangold has done a pretty good job in maintaining the essence of the Indiana Jones movie, where he successfully recreates the world of Indy and his companions while adding up his own signature elements to the concluding finale of this legendary franchise. The director has quite stupendously maintained the essence of the older Indiana Jones movies with its suspense, climated drama, and the edge of the seat plot twisters, but I feel that these plot twisters could have been a little more gripping in terms of sewing together the whole story which instead feels like they are dragging the story too much in its running duration. One can compare these drawbacks in the direction to the nail gripping tension that one feels in the action sequences of this movie, which is quite marvelously carved out on screen, but the essence of that tension is missing in the direction that the story takes, and the movie would have been instantly more better with a nail gripping screenplay that would have contributed massively to the story and would have allowed the director to sew out an even more befitting finale to our beloved Indy. The actors portraying the pivotal roles in the film have done a marvelous job with their craft, and Harrison Ford is as lovable as he has ever been in his iconic hat of Indiana Jones, and he is supported fantabulously by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Mads Mikkelsen is as menacing as ever as the primary antagonist of the film. I'm going with 3 out of 5 for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If the protagonist had set forth on a journey to restore history's precious artifacts from the endangering grips of greed, he can finally lay down that iconic hat, gleefully relishing that the battle has definitely been toppled. The mileage here has definitely been worth it.